I was completely taken aback by the startling news that my friend Declan had sold the house I inherited from my father for $670,000. His announcement came in an oddly upbeat tone during a phone call from the hospital. To further my astonishment, he confidently shared his plans to travel with his mistress. The whole scenario seemed utterly bizarre and left me bewildered. I couldn't understand why Declan would dispose of a house that held such sentimental value and make such a drastic announcement. Adding to the shock, he revealed plans to leave his family behind, including his daughter, Kayla. His casual indifference about leaving Kayla, who he complained was becoming pretentious and bothersome, infuriated me. As I tried to process the distressing news of Declan selling the family home and abandoning his loved ones for his mistress, I was flooded with a mix of anger and disbelief. It felt like I was losing my grip on reality, and I was compelled to intervene to stop Declan from rashly squandering the house. My name is Anaya, and I am a 34-6-year-old homemaker. Life with my husband, Declan, and our 7-year-old daughter, Kayla, has been anything but peaceful. Our marital discord has been intensifying, fueled by suspicions of Declan's infidelity for the past year. His behavior raised alarms. He started spending evenings at bars, returning home with a strange smell, and buying expensive gifts that weren't for me. Despite my fears, I've been too scared to confront him about a potential affair, and felt paralyzed, unable to take decisive action. Reflecting on our relationship, I remember the man I fell in love with a decade ago. Declan's kindness and sincerity initially captured my heart, and our marriage began blissfully. However, things started to deteriorate when Kayla was about a year old. Parenting became more demanding, and as a full-time homemaker, I missed having Declan's help with tasks like bathing and meal preparation. Over time, his behavior and frequent nights out began to change, leaving me puzzled about how our once joyful marriage had spiraled into this tumultuous situation. In the early days, Declan, perhaps aware of his responsibilities as a father, initially helped with childcare as I requested. But as it became a daily routine, he grew resentful and gradually withdrew from active parenting. He began to express that as a stay-at-home mom, I should manage the childcare responsibilities on my own. This shift in his attitude and behavior left me feeling isolated and bewildered about our relationship's future. After a long day at work, I often hear Declan complain, "What more do you expect from a tired man like me?" His words cut deep, leaving Kayla and me to face the evening alone while he retreats to the bedroom. Each night, as I navigate Kayla's tantrums and our routine by myself, Declan's biting remarks echo in my mind, adding to my sense of isolation. His detachment from interacting with Kayla is evident, even on his days off. When she asks him to play, he dismissively tells her, "Playing is your mom's job. I'm busy." It's clear he doesn't consider Kayla's feelings, quick to scold her and criticize my parenting whenever she becomes upset. In our living room, it's often just Kayla and me, finding solace in our little games and activities, while Declan pursues his passion for racing. I long for some time to myself, perhaps to dive into a book or watch a movie, but caring for Kayla around the clock leaves me with no room for personal hobbies. The unfairness of the situation weighs on me, yet I bite my tongue because we depend on Declan's income. Over the past 8 years, Declan's disinterest in parenting and his harsh language have become a disturbing pattern, so far removed from the caring and kind man I married. Despite the hardship, I know I must endure for Kayla's sake, relying on Declan's earnings to keep our household afloat. One day, while we were drawing together, Kayla complimented my artistic skills and suggested I could turn drawing into a job. Despite Declan's often scornful attitude, Kayla has grown into a bright, honest, and cheerful girl, quite the opposite of my more reserved personality. It's uplifting to see her thriving at school, surrounded by friends, and even favored by her teachers. Her appreciation for my drawings fills me with pride and confidence, a reminder of her attentiveness and the value she sees in me. I am grateful for Kayla's positivity, which brings light to our otherwise challenging family dynamics. As long as she can find reasons to smile, I feel a surge of resilience, ready to face whatever comes our way. That night, as I reflected on our situation, I realized the strength Kayla gives me even as our household struggles with familiar challenges. When Declan returned home late again, clearly inebriated, he collapsed in the living room. His drinking had intensified recently, which was increasingly worrying. As I wearily helped him out of his jacket, a piece of paper slipped from a pocket that usually held nothing more than keys. It was a motel receipt, tangible proof of the suspicions I had harbored but never confirmed. Trying to contain my inner turmoil, I quietly placed the receipt on a shelf and pondered how to confront him about this the next day. The following morning, after Kayla had left for school and Declan had sobered up somewhat, he hurried out, leaving me alone with my thoughts and the regular chores that couldn't distract me from yesterday's discovery. The receipt was a stark reminder that I could no longer ignore the truth or maintain our pretense of normalcy. I resolved to confront Declan, seeking an admission and, hopefully, an apology within the next few days. As I was lost in thought, my smartphone vibrated with a call from an unfamiliar number, stirring a sense of dread. The caller was from General Hospital, informing me that Declan had been admitted for emergency surgery due to severe kidney disease. The doctor explained that his condition was critical, and he might need a transplant. Despite our strained relationship and his betrayal, the news was a shock, and I didn't want to see him suffer. I assured the doctor I was all right as I absorbed the details of the surgery and the urgency of the situation. That evening, as I sat alone, my thoughts were consumed with hope for Declan's recovery. Over the next few weeks, as we awaited news of possible kidney donors, an unexpected revelation came to light. I was the best match for the transplant. This discovery added a new layer of complexity to our already tumultuous relationship, leaving me to wrestle with conflicting emotions about what to do next. Despite the complexities of our past relationship, I found myself in a unique position as the only compatible kidney donor for Declan. Our intertwined histories added a layer of complexity to an already delicate situation. Declan, an only child and the sole hope of his aging parents, was in dire need of a transplant. And, coincidentally, we shared the same blood type. Though my health was not perfect, it was good enough to qualify me as a donor, compelling me to consider the profound impact this could have on preserving his life. The weight of this decision was not lost on me. The opportunity to mend old wounds and possibly reconnect through this life-saving process loomed large. My reservations about the surgery were substantial, yet the thought of potentially saving Declan's life gradually overshadowed these doubts. Acknowledging the irreplaceable value of his life, I made the heartening yet tough decision to proceed as his donor. When I shared news of Declan's condition and our impending surgery with Kayla, she offered nothing but understanding and support, blessing me as I prepared for the hospital. Kayla stayed with my in-laws during my recovery. Despite their own health issues, they managed to provide her with care, which comforted me immensely during a stressful time. With everything in place, I underwent the kidney transplant surgery. To my relief, the procedure was quicker than expected. I spent about a week in the hospital, while Declan's recovery took slightly longer. Fortunately, the process was complication-free and both of our recoveries went smoothly. On the eve of my discharge, an unexpected phone call sent chills through me. As I answered, I braced myself for the news on the other end. When I picked up the phone, I was greeted by Declan's voice, the man who had just received my kidney. Expecting a simple thank you for the life-saving gift, I asked him how he was feeling post-surgery. But the conversation quickly veered off in an unexpected direction. Declan, sounding unusually upbeat, shocked me with the news that he had sold our family home for $670,000 and was planning to travel with his mistress. The news hit me like a thunderbolt. That house wasn't just any property, it was a cherished inheritance from my father, and Declan had sold it without any regard for its sentimental value. His casual mention of a mistress added insult to injury, deepening the sting of betrayal. Amidst my shock, I asked about our daughter Kayla's welfare, only to be met with Declan's cold indifference. He bluntly stated he didn't care about her and had plans to leave her behind. This revelation left me both enraged and utterly dismayed. The thought of him discarding his responsibilities to his own daughter and our home was unfathomable. As the call ended abruptly, I was left reeling, trying to process the whirlwind of emotions and the gravity of Declan's actions. The urgency to protect both the house and Kyla's future welled up within me, demanding immediate action. Confined to the hospital bed, my condition worsened as I grappled with the stress and disbelief. My extended hospital stay was spent in restless contemplation of how to counteract Declan's impulsive decisions. My first instinct was to reach out to Kayla. Without our home, we were unmoored, and above all, I needed to ensure her security. Dialing my in-laws' number, Kayla answered. My heart was heavy as I inquired about her well-being, and if she felt alone in this tumultuous time. I hesitantly shared the distressing news about the house. To my surprise, her response was calm and reassuring. She told me she had managed the situation, her tone confident and composed. Intrigued and somewhat relieved by her response, I listened intently, eager to understand how she had navigated this upheaval and what measures she had taken to secure her future and potentially salvage our home. Kayla told me that Dad had asked his mistress to handle the sale of our house. Despite the chaos this information brought, I couldn't help but feel a surge of pride in how maturely Kayla was handling the situation. She assured me that everything was under control and thanked me for my concern. Her calm demeanor brought me a sense of peace, although I remained curious about what was currently happening with Declan and his mistress. Trying to prioritize my health, I allowed myself to rest, and after 6 more days of recovery in the hospital, I was discharged. I went straight to my in-laws' house, where Kayla welcomed me with open arms, and my mother-in-law greeted me with a warm, gentle smile, happy for my return. However, the atmosphere was slightly shadowed by my father-in-law's somber expression. He apologized for Declan's behavior, which puzzled me. It was hard to reconcile the man Declan had become with the upbringing he had received from such decent parents. As we talked, my in-laws made it clear that they were not going to let Declan simply have his way with things. Feeling both intrigued and anxious, Kayla and I decided to go to our house. On our way, we stumbled upon a dramatic scene outside a real estate appraiser's office. There was Declan, looking unkempt in sweatpants with unruly hair, and a woman, presumably his mistress, arguing loudly. She was noticeably frustrated, wearing a short skirt and missing a heel, venting her anger about the house sale falling through and the lost chance to secure the $670,000. The public dispute attracted the attention of passers-by as Declan stomped around angrily and his mistress screeched in irritation. Surprised, Kayla and I approached them for an explanation. When confronted, Declan and his mistress were visibly shocked, as if they hadn't expected us to appear. Declan hastily suggested that I must have interfered with the sale, though his accusation had no basis. Instinctively, I stepped in front of Kayla, shielding her as I faced their unwarranted accusations. The real estate appraiser, caught in the middle of the unfolding drama, was stunned to learn I was Declan's wife. The disruption of the house sale had obviously thrown a wrench into their plans. Declan, pointing at his mistress, confessed he was trying to settle debts he had accrued on her behalf and secure a new place for them to live. As the reality of his intentions sank in, it felt like a blow. Declan had planned to sell our family home, a place filled with memories and inherited from my father, just to cover his expenditures for his mistress. This revelation added yet another layer of complexity to an already turbulent situation, and I realized the depth of the betrayal and the lengths I needed to go to protect our family's legacy and Kayla's future. I stood there, my heart pounding with disbelief and anger as I processed the audacity of Declan's actions. The house wasn't just property. It was a precious inheritance from my father, a symbol of our family's legacy. The thought that Declan would try to sell it out from under Kayla and me to snatch away my most cherished asset filled me with fury. As I confronted Declan, he threw insults at me, showing a complete lack of decency or respect. I accused him of trying to sell my house without my consent, questioning whether he had even forged documents to push the sale through. The situation escalated when I revealed an unexpected twist. Declan had been disparaging the supposed buyers of the house, not realizing they were actually his own parents. This shocking information came to light thanks to Kayla, who had been in close communication with my in-laws. Enraged by their son's deceitful behavior, they had decided to step in, not just for my sake, but also for their beloved granddaughter, Kayla. With confidence, Kayla explained to Declan that her grandparents knew the deep significance the house held for me and were opposed to its hasty sale. In a clever move, they had posed as buyers, securing the house before anyone else could, effectively blocking the sale. Declan, caught in his own web of deceit, responded with a vulgar laugh and lashed out verbally at Kayla and her grandparents. However, Kayla stood strong, unshaken by his words. Amidst the heated argument, I pulled out a piece of paper from my bag and thrust it under Declan's nose, ready to confront him with concrete evidence. The unfolding drama was a stark display of complex family dynamics, and the lengths one would go to protect those they love. With the divorce papers in hand, I made a resolute declaration to Declan: I want a divorce. However, instead of recognizing the gravity of the situation, Declan merely snorted and scoffed, questioning my ability to survive without him. Unfazed by his arrogance, I was ready to dispel his misguided beliefs. Calmly, I informed him that his parents, recognizing their declining health, had decided to give me a portion of their assets, a gesture initially intended for Declan, but redirected at their insistence. This announcement of a lifetime gift from his own parents left Declan and his mistress completely bewildered. I continued, explaining the full extent of the situation and the support I had behind me. This move was about securing a future for Kayla and myself, showing Declan that his deceptions and betrayals had finally caught up with him. After donating a life-saving organ to Declan, it became clear that his parents viewed me, the mother of their beloved granddaughter Kayla, as more deserving of their support than a son who showed no gratitude for such a sacrifice. When they offered me a substantial gift from their assets, I accepted, grateful for their acknowledgement and generosity. This decision left Declan visibly shaken and enraged. Declan, upset by his parents' choice, labeled the decision as unfair and threatened legal action. I calmly pointed out that his financial recklessness was the reason his parents had made such a choice. I doubted aloud whether he even had the means to afford a legal battle considering his history of poor financial decisions. As I confronted him further, I made it clear that I would relentlessly pursue every penny owed for emotional distress and child support. My firm stance was a stern warning. I would go to any lengths necessary to ensure he fulfilled his obligations. Despite his sudden pleas for forgiveness, the time for remorse had passed. As Declan and his mistress hastily retreated from the confrontation, the real estate appraiser, who had witnessed the entire exchange, thanked me for resolving the situation. Although the ordeal was awkward for all involved, I apologized for any inconvenience caused and prepared to move on to the next chapter of my life. Hand in hand with Kayla, we walked home. Her gratitude and the proud smile on her face reinforced my resolve to protect and provide for her always. I silently vowed to be her steadfast guardian for life. The divorce proceedings from Declan concluded smoothly, almost anticlimactically, prompting me to reflect on why I had tolerated the marriage for so long. Declan's financial recklessness had escalated. He had invested heavily in his affair and borrowed extensively, leading to his financial downfall. His mistress eventually left him due to his dire financial situation. Moreover, his workplace downsized, and Declan, likely due to poor performance or behavior, was among the first to be laid off. Now, struggling with part-time jobs and lacking the drive to seek full-time employment, Declan's life appeared bleak. While it was difficult to sympathize given his actions, it was evident that karma had caught up with him. He needed to focus on resolving his debts. Meanwhile, I embarked on a new career in architectural designer, inspired by Kayla's praise of my drawing skills. The feedback from clients was overwhelmingly positive, appreciating the meticulousness of my work. My plan moving forward was to expand my clientele and work diligently to provide a stable and fulfilling life for Kayla and myself. This new beginning was not just a professional endeavor, but a profound commitment to our future, fueled by the assets and the opportunity given by my in-laws.